Assalamualaikum and hi, I'm Nurlaili Batusha binti Ismail. So this is the video presentation of our innovation product, which is Vehicle Financing Gradhits Aitab. Before we go detail about our presentation, let's get know what is Aitab. Aitab is one of the latest innovation product of Islamic Bank in the Islamic Hire Purchase Facility or Ijara Thumma, which is designed to meet the current demand and avoid certain risks in the financing of consumer durables and motor vehicles. Aitab can be utilized to finance a wide range of assets, either for individual or corporate customers. For your information, Aitab means owning the benefit of certain asset for a specific period of time by paying an agreed sum of rental with an agreement that the owner will transfer the rented asset to the hirer at the end of the agreed period or during the period. It also provides all rental payments or installment have been made entirely. The transfer of ownership is affected by a new and independent contract, either by giving the asset as a gift or selling it at an agreed price. Like any other contract, Aitab has to fulfill all conditions of valid contract stipulated by the Sharia. The contract should be executed by mutual agreement. The responsibilities and benefit of both parties should be clearly spelled out, and also the agreement should be known a period and against a known price. In particular, Aitab has to adhere to both principles of leasing, which is ijara, and sale, which is buy, contract in respect of condition imposed onto the contracting parties, offer and acceptance, consideration, and subject matter of the contract. And the most important thing is, our innovation of Aitab is special to the student or fresh graduates that do not have a proper income statement to buy a new car for themselves. So, let's us learn more knowledge about our innovation of product.
So let's move to the next part, which I can share about the advantages of vehicle financing Gradhits for those who participate or choose Aitab for the contract of buying car. So the first advantages of using an Aitab contract are easy to purchase a car, especially for a student. This product we created for student, especially to use this contract when purchasing a car. So therefore it is easy because the student does not need an income statement every 3 months during the process to purchase a car to consider whether they are worthy or not. So besides that, using Aitab for the contract of buying a car, the student does not need a guarantor. It shows that their parents are not burdened by being a guarantor, and the student must take all the responsibility if anything happens. Maybe it takes the shortest time to proceed with the signed agreement of the contract than usual. So, and the last advantages is the buyer doesn't have to pay the mortgage tax by themselves because this contract is created to give them an easy process. So the car company will settle it for them. Normally, that process will be settled on our own. So it is good for students who don't know or are less knowledgeable about the step of the process to purchase a car.
For the modus operandi and flow of process, first one, client identify the vehicle and pay deposit. Number 2, client approve the bank and obtain Aitab financing facility. For the number 3, the bank purchase the car and pay the remaining purchase price of the car, which is 90%. The bank lease the car for the client at a certain rental price with optional to purchase at need of financing period. 5. Bank acts as murtahin to help customer who can pay their debt. Number 6. If customer cannot pay their debt, customer can bring the gold that will be used as collateral assets or marhum to institusi kewangan Islam or murtahin to evaluate. 7. IKI or murtahin will make an assessment on the quality and purity of the gold. Based on the assessment, murtahin will determine the amount of loan that will customer eligible to receive, which is 70% value of that gold. Number 8, customer can sell their gold at murtahin, or the loan will be given to the customer after the pledge letter is signed. This document stated the loan amount and storage charges that apply. Number 9, customer use the money received to pay debt at the bank. And lastly, the customer will pay the loan amount along with the gold storage charge according to agreed term.
For underlying contract, there are Ijarah Sumabai and Ar-Rahnu. Firstly, Ijarah Sumabai. What is Aitab facility? Aitab is a hire purchase facility which allows the customer to hire an asset and subsequently purchase the asset from the bank at the end of lease tenure. This product is offered to a customer at fixed rate. The rental payment is fixed throughout the tenure. Secondly, what is the Syariah contract applicable? The applicable Syariah contract is Ijarah Sumabai or Aitab. Aitab refers to Ijarah rental contract which is allowed by a bank or sale contract. Under the leasing contract, the customer leases the asset from the bank at an agreed rental payment over a specific period. Upon expiry of the leasing period, the customer enters into a contract to purchase the asset from the bank at an agreed price. The product structure for Aitab is as follows. Firstly, customer approaches the seller or vendor and identifies the asset customer wish to buy. And customer requests the seller or vendor to provide a price quotation and other relevant details. Secondly, customer approaches the bank or financing and both agrees on Aitab financing. Or customer promise wa'ad to lease the asset for an agreed period and rental from the bank. Customer also promised to purchase the asset at the end of Ijarah tenure. Thirdly, bank purchase the asset from the seller based on the asset details provided by the customer by cash. Ownership of the asset is transferred to the bank. Fourth, bank lease the asset to the customer and the customer pays the rental based on the agreed term. Fifth, once the Ijarah period expire in the event of yearly settlement, the bank and customer execute sale and purchase agreement. And there are also ownership of the asset transferred to the customer. Next, what if you fail to fulfill the obligation? Should you fail to fulfill your obligation in a timely manner, the following shall apply. Firstly, breach of wa'ad. Customer need to compensate the bank for any actual loss incurred by the bank due to customer's breach of promise to purchase asset from the bank. Secondly, event of default. Firstly, the bank may by written notice to you demand for immediate payment of amount overdue from you and the guarantor. Secondly, the bank has the right to set off your deposit or any other account maintained with the bank towards settlement of overdue payment under this facility granted by the bank. Thirdly, the bank has the right to take legal action against you if you fail to respond to the reminder and demand notice. The bank shall exercise its right on any security pledged by the bank and you are to bear all the costs involved. You are also responsible to settle any shortfall. Legal action against you may affect your credit rating, leading to any future credit assessment being more difficult or expensive to you. Lastly, cross default of other facility with the bank may be triggered. Second underlying contract is Ar-Rahnu. Background of Ar-Rahnu was introduced as an alternative to the conventional interest-based pawnbroking product. Generally, Ar-Rahnu product offered by IFI involve 4 main Syariah contract which are loan, pledge, safekeeping and free. In Ar-Rahnu financing, the pledging of gold belonging to the customer is made as a condition for the loan to be provided. It will safekeep the collateral based on the concept of wadi'ah, and a safekeeping fee will be charged on customer for the safekeeping service provided by the IFI. The bank has issued Ar-Rahnu on 1 August 2019 that outline the Syariah and operational requirement related to Ar-Rahnu contract. The requirement specified in the Ar-Rahnu is applicable to Ar-Rahnu as Ar-Rahnu in the underlying contract for the product. Ar-Rahnu require that any charges related to Ar-Rahnu shall be limited to the cost directly related to the Rahnu transaction without any profit elements. Based on the above, the SAC is referred by regards to the Sharia compliance of the existing Ar-Rahnu product against the Rahnu PD requirements. Next, interdependency and interconditionality between the loan and safekeeping service for the collateral. The loan is only offered to a customer in the Ar-Rahnu product who pledge and safekeep the gold to the IFI, and the safekeeping fee charge is based on the gold value. Based on this structure, it is viewed that the current practice has an element of interconditionality and interdependency between the loan and the safekeeping service contracted between the IFI and the customer. Next, element of profit in the safekeeping fee of the collateral. In the current practice, the service fee charged by IFI to safekeep the gold is based on the value of gold pledge. The method in determining the safekeep fee is deemed to have element of profit and is not in line with Sharia requirement, which only allows the safekeep fee to be charged based on costs that are directly related to the Rahnu transaction only. Next, typically, the financing product offered by IFI in the Islamic banking industry apply the concept of sale, buy, or lease ijarah, which generate income and profit. In such cases, the profit generated from both underlying contract is permissible in Sharia. This is different in the case of the existing Ar-Rahnu structure, which apply the contract of card as the main underlying contract. From a Sharia perspective, the lender must not receive more than the loan amount provided directly or indirectly, as it creates financial benefit to the lender. Lastly, compliance of Ar-Rahnu product. The combination of both the loan and the pledge contract for the purpose of income generation is not in line with the objective of the contract. The loan contract is a tabarruk contract and Ar-Rahnu in a pledge contract. The objective of both type of contract is not for profit generation, as in the case of sale contract, investment, wakalah bill or service fee. Secondly, the Rahnu PD specifies that the fee may be charged to the pledge is limited to the cost directly related to the safekeeping of the collateral. Any charge beyond the direct costs are not permissible, as it may lead to profit generation, which is contradictory to the real objective of Rahnu product. Next, the interconditionality and interdependency between the loan, pledge, safekeeping and the fee contracts in the product structure may bring about the issue of card charanaf and loan that give benefit to the lender and buy, which is prohibited in Sharia. The first trend for SWOT analysis is easy purchase process for fresh graduates. In the process of buying a car, it is common for buyers who have just worked to find a guarantor to be responsible for paying the balance of the borrower's debt if the borrower failed to meet or pay their entire loan. However, using this concept can give an advantage to fresh graduate to buy a car without needing a guarantor. Because to buy a car using this concept does not require 3 months of bank statement and give opportunity for fresh graduate who have a valid employment agreement from the company they work for. Secondly is fixed interest. When you take any loan from the bank as well as repaying the loan in monthly installment, you also pay an additional amount as interest. Naturally, you want this interest rate to be as low as possible. In this concept, there is the advantage of a fixed interest rate that you continue to pay the same amount of vehicle finance repayment every month, regardless of fluctuation in the market for the agreed initial period. Therefore, you will be able to fit your repayment into your budget with 100% accuracy compared to other conventional concepts that use variable interest rate, where the prime interest rate increase. So do your prepayments. Fluctuating interest rate can make it difficult to budget accordingly.
Okay, for the weaknesses of this contract, firstly, financial distress. Financial distress can arise from poor budgeting, overspending, or too high of a debt load, lawsuit or low cost employment. Consumers are more likely to buy a car even if they do not have stable finance, which lead to debt that cannot be settled in orderly manner. Provide limited option according to user ability. The car offer only those that suit buyer ability. Buyer cannot choose a vehicle beyond their means, but a number of vehicle options have been prepared according to their appropriate budgets. And lastly is needs to meet some limitations before buying a car. Buyer have an age limit which is between 23 to 30 years old only, and needs to meet several conditions. Among which students must have an academic transcript before applying to buy a car.
Okay, what is the opportunities? The first one is give advantages to the student who have their own business. As we all know, many students choose to start their own business because it helps them to make extra money. Students are willing to go into this tough field because they need more money to pay for college. With this huge bonus, it will be easy for recent college graduates to buy a car that they need for their business. Depending on the type of business, some business need a vehicle and some don't. This can make it easier for students to buy a car, since one of the requirements to buy a new car is steady monthly income statement. So, students can own it without having to face the challenges of getting their own car. The second one is lighten the burden of relative. It's not easy to buy a vehicle and the process is even bit tiring. This is because owning a car is not a big deal that should not be taken lightly. So, with the benefit of vehicle financing for graduates, they no longer have to use guarantors in the name of others, especially of our own family members. Many students buy cars in the name of family members these days. If something unexpected happens, the guarantor will have to take on all the risks, which adds the load they would have been carried. In fact, because of the way this new product works, it won't be a burden to anyone and will even make it easier for students to become independent.
So next, we will talk about the threat of Aitab. So the first threat are less knowledgeable about purchasing a car. So maybe some students do not know how to handle if there are any problem with the agreement. In other words, the typical vehicle purchase involves a number of steps. So, and it is possible to mess up any of them, especially if the student will be anxious of buying a car. The fear engaged from not knowing what car to buy is among the most significant. So I think that typically students don't negotiate on the price of virtually anything else they purchase, and they don't think they are particularly skilled at it. So, and the second one, the cost of living will increase. So this is hard for students because they are just starting to deal with commitments that require long-term debt, even if they also have to care about the maintenance of the car. As we know, it becomes a burden to the student because there is already a commitment to pay, like rental house and bills. So I think that's all from us. Thank you.